Hello, this is Dave Alvin from White Trash, and you're listening to The Jay Stone Show. Jay invited me to come on and talk about some of our songs, the hidden truths, background information about some of White Trash's catalog. And I'm actually excited to do it. Jay's a great guy. It's a cool opportunity to talk about music and life. So let's get at it. Okay, so the first song we're going to talk about is off the first White Trash album, which is just called White Trash. That's the one with the artwork from Jack Davis from Mad Magazine. That's the one that's got apple pie, but I'm not going to talk about apple pie. There's not too much to say about that. I'm gonna talk about a couple of songs that maybe would be considered B-sides, or however you want to look at it. I've always been a big fan. When you get an album, there's always like the hits and the obvious songs, but then the cool part of having an album is getting into the other tracks, and that's what to me really makes a good album. Is having different kinds of songs, different stuff to get into, and when you're into a band, you can always tell who's really into the band or not by what songs they're into. So like with us, anybody who was marginally interested in us knows Apple Pie or The Crawl, but there's other songs on the album, and I'm going to talk about a couple of those to start off. First one I want to talk about is a song called Baby, and the reason I wanted to talk about this song is this is actually the first song I ever made a demo by myself for, with the old school cassette 4-track Tascam that everybody used to have. This was like a big moment in my life. What happened was we were in pre-production for the album. We had like most of the songs, and then we were getting into, like I said, the B tracks, and or what the label thought of as filler. But for me, that was like where it was a good opportunity to experiment and try stuff. And we were working at the time with a producer by the name of Paul O'Neill, who worked with Savatage, and Paul O'Neill wound up creating Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He's a very talented guy. He'd also worked in management with like Aerosmith and people. He was a veteran of the music industry, and they brought him in because we were just like idiots from Queens who were nobody knew what to do with. And so we worked with him for a little while. Ultimately, we weren't totally on the same page. But one of the cool things in this, part of our history was that Paul lent me a Tascam 4-track recorder, and I took it home, and it really changed my life. And I had just started listening to Prince, and Prince obviously recorded everything himself, and this was my first opportunity to be like Prince. So I had a little drum machine, I had a guitar, and everything just went straight into the board, and I recorded this song, Baby. And the original version sounds a lot like a Prince song. I had the sped up vocals and the drum machine and everything. And, I brought it to the band, and they, we changed it into a White Trash song. But from there, again, the reason I mentioned this song is it was really the first time I got to really record and experiment recording, and it changed my life. It's something I still do, obviously. And the song itself was, about hanging out with a girl who was very attractive, but not very bright. And, it's pretty much based on a true story, from the old heavy metal days. Hanging out with a beautiful girl, one too many times, there was not much in her head. But, you sort of wait it out. It's like that Seinfeld episode where he's playing chess with his penis. That's sort of what it was. Anyway, take a listen to Baby from the first White Trash album.
my loins with the devil's charm, and you fill me with desire. But soon spoken, and then I walk to the fact that you're brain dead. So every time you open your mouth, it's best before some head. Baby, baby, you know you drive me crazy. No. So do me, I think the door that's gone bad and get out of my face. Oh, one more time. Baby, baby, what you trying to do? 'Cause I don't wanna seem like a big old fool. 'Cause I don't need another one looking like you got. No. Too skin, I can't stand your face now. How am I supposed to love you when you don't even know your own name? Baby, let me tell you something ain't the one for me. Make me sweat and I make me sick, 'cause you speak and expect me to hear. I love the way your body moves, I love you on your knees, yeah. Just soon as I leave your boat, I need you like Odyssey. Baby, baby, you know you drive me crazy. So do me, I thought the door that could and get out of my face, yeah. Like one more time. Baby, what you trying to do? Whoa, yeah. 'Cause I don't need another one looking like you got. No. Too skin, I can't stand your face, 'cause I big fat freaks in my face, and I don't wanna see you round no more. But my mama told me that's a big old disgrace, honey. Oh my God, now. Ow. Gonna make me sick, y'all.
Okay, so the second song we're going to get into, also off of the first album, is called SDASE. Those are the initials for Sleazy, Drunk, Anorexic, Suicidal, Epileptic. And like it says in the song, it's about me. At least when I was, 17, 18 years old. This for me really is a snapshot of who I was at that time. I'm a much different person now. But at the time, for people who aren't around, the scene was insane. I mean, the heavy metal hard rock scene all over the country was huge. And in Queens, there was a really big scene. And basically, all of us, all my friends, anybody who was in a band, we were all living like rock stars and living in our mom's basement. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you didn't have to be famous in those days. If you were just in a band and if you could get a gig at Lemoore East, the Cat Club, Limelight, all those places that we played, you were a rock star, at least locally. You know what I mean? I mean, we were always the guys from Queens, and, we weren't as cool as a lot of the bands that were big back in those days, like, the Throbs and Circus of Power and Cycle Sluts, there's many more. But we had a big following, we developed a big following. And in those days, I was definitely flamboyant poser. I had my boots, my bootstraps, all my bracelets and earrings, and I had frosted hair, and I still had the influence of like Motley Crue and all that stuff, but we were drifting into funk realms, which is why I think the first album is interesting, because it was like a weird mix. And like the song was, you know, the goals were to be sleazy, drunk, anorexic, because you were supposed to be very thin, you know. Suicidal, you know, there was that sort of, you know, gothic type of romantic, you know, death wish, you know, live fast, die young. And the last part of it was epileptic. Now, I was not epileptic. I didn't want to be epileptic, and I have nothing against somebody who is epileptic, but quite honestly, epileptic just happened to rhyme with anorexic, so we'll just chalk that up to poetic license. And, you know, back then it was, you have to remember, it was 18 years old, you could drink when I was starting out, so at 13 I was already going into clubs and, you know, hanging out with, you know, women twice my age probably. And so that's really what the song is about, that period of time, a great time in my life. And the only thing I'll mention about it is, you know, there's a little ode to Aerosmith in that song. We have a breakdown toward the end, and it's sort of like a jam that was definitely all about me ripping off Lord of the Thighs, which is a great Aerosmith record, specifically the version on live bootleg. Okay, well, anyway, here it comes. SDASE on the Jay Stone Show. Dig it.
Oh, baby, I believe I told you this before. Yeah, so my soul for rock and roll. Oh, baby, it was such a small price to pay. 'Cause I was gonna go to hell, child. Yeah. What it is, what it is.
Hi, this is Dave Alvin. I'm back to talk about some white trash music, the backstories, things you didn't know, maybe you don't want to know, maybe you do. I'm going to tell you about it anyway. All right, so I just gave you 2 songs off the first record. Now we're going to jump to the second record, and the second record was a different band. It was just really me that was the same thing, and it was a big change. The first band wasn't getting along. Everybody split off and did their own projects. And, we had some discussion about it. And I had originally come up with the name White Trash. And so basically we decided it was okay for me to use the name. And so we got a new bunch of guys and we made a second record called COCK. And you can see what that spells, but the way it is on the album is more, the Spanish language, COCK, which I think means yes or yes what, but I think we can all figure out what the real meaning was there. Very witty on our part. And so I want to talk about 2 songs on that record, and the first song I want to talk about, which is, I think by far really one of the best songs I wrote, and it really just was not handled properly for a variety of reasons. And that song is called Come Tuesday. Now, this song was a song about a big part of my life, which is movies. And we all watch movies. So that doesn't make me unique. But I was, very into film. I still am. I know a lot about film. I actually have a master's degree in film. And I was all about film, and we'd be on the road, and in those days you didn't have DVDs, and I had everywhere we went, I would stop in video stores and buy used copies of videotapes. We had a VCR in the van. I had a VCR, a portable one that I would bring into hotel rooms and hook up to the TV. And I was just, all about movies. A lot of times I didn't even hang out after shows. I would just go watch a movie. And, before DVDs, before the internet, it was very hard to find a lot of films. So it was like a hunt. There were all these out-of-print films. Like, you couldn't find John Cassavetes films back in those days. There were only like 1 or 2 of them on VHS. So there were lots of like bootleg videos, and there were companies like Video Search of Miami and Luminous Film and Video Works, and you would track down all these like obscure titles, and it was a cool like hobby, passion, obsession. And, a big part of driving around the country I really loved was going to video stores, which are now all gone, but video stores were really cool. And we'd go to different places. This is even really before Blockbuster destroyed all that. So there were little mom and pop video stores, and, a lot of them had different, takes on, they like curating. It was like their museum, like you should see these movies. So, I was, big on movies, and that was a big part of my life. And I would, like the song said, try to watch a different movie each day. And the one actress that I always just found beautiful and, talented and really, really, epitomized the 70s filmmaking, sort of anti-movie star kind of thing, and that was Tuesday Weld. Some of you know her from Dobie Gillis. To me, the movie Pretty Poison that she made is one of the best movies with her and Anthony Perkins. And actually, one of the songs on the first album, Little Nancy, is sort of based on that movie a little bit. But anyway, so, I've always loved Tuesday Weld from afar. She, didn't make enough films, but she was beautiful, really talented, and she just had, she had something. And anyway, I wrote this song about her. If you're not familiar with her, check her out. She's wonderful. Anyway, this song is called Come Tuesday.
I got too much time on my hands to watch a different movie each stay. But now the girl I want, you don't live in my world. She lives behind my TV screen. Might sound silly or maybe quite dumb, but I love that girl just the same. No, there's something behind those blue eyes that makes her so attractive, man. But if she'd seen me, she wouldn't know now at all I even care. But I won't be too sorry if you never come into my world. Ain't got too much in my life, but I know that come Tuesday I'll be happy, oh yeah. Ain't got too much on my side, but I know that come Tuesday I'll be singing again. Don't know too much about her. Don't know too much at all, but now I gotta know what you think about when what you still see. I got too much time on my hands. I watch different movie each day. But now the girl I want, you to live in my world. You live behind my TV screen. Might sound silly or maybe quite dumb, but I love that girl just the same. No, there's something behind those blue eyes that makes her so attractive to me. But if she'd seen me, she wouldn't know now at all I even care. But now I won't be too sorry if you never come into my world. Ain't got too much in my life, but I know that come Tuesday I'll be happy, oh yeah. Ain't got too much on my side, but I know that come Tuesday I'll be singing, oh yeah. Don't know too much about her. Don't know too much at all, but now I gotta know what you think about when what you still see. Different movie each day. And then the girl I want, you don't live in my world. She lives behind my TV.
Okay, we're back on the Jay Stone Show. I'm Dave Alvin from White Trash, and we are talking about a bunch of songs on White Trash albums. Some you've heard of, some you haven't heard of, but I'm here to give you the straight dope. All right. So we're on the second album, and now we're going to talk about another song that's a forgotten gem on there. Really, this is really one of my favorite White Trash songs, but it's really nothing like a White Trash song. It's very heavy for White Trash. Obviously, it's not death metal or anything seriously heavy, but for us it was pretty heavy. And the second album really tried to experiment with a lot of different stuff. There was certainly a few, some funk songs on there, but it was a little concerned that might get a little gimmicky, and a lot of bands, like, whether it's Led Zeppelin or, obviously the Beatles and, many other people, take sort of a songbook approach and try to write different types of songs. So I really, made an attempt on this album because I had a lot of freedom to do it, to try a lot of different things. So, some people really like the second album and other people just don't see how it fits in. And I think that's, either viewpoint is legitimate. But anyway, I wanted to do something heavy, and this song was really heavy. And it was called Catalepsy, like I said. And, catalepsy is like a catatonic state, is what it's referring to. And the idea of this song came from, well, back then, I liked to party. I like to party quite a bit. I don't do any kind of drugs anymore in my life, but back then I sure did. And, did a lot. We experimented with lots of things, and it was fun. and then you grow up and you stop, I guess. But so one time we were at Elektra, which was our label, and my A&R person at the time gave me some hash, and I was like, oh, all right, this is cool. It was hard to get in those days. I don't know how hard it is to get now. It's probably not as hard these days, but back then it was pretty hard to come by. And I was like very excited about it. And then she said to me, "Eat it." And I was confused. I was like, "Well, isn't this hash?" And she was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Eat it." And I was like, "Well, why?" And it kind of threw me for a loop. I knew you could like eat marijuana and stuff like that, but she said no. She was like, "Check it out, it's cool." So me being where I was at in my life, I was like, okay. And I ate it, and I drank a beer or two, and went home, and I just kind of like turned to mush, like beautiful mush. I just sort of was very warm and fuzzy. Everything just was, it was like I was in a really nice but very weird sort of surreal state of mind. And I had the TV on, and I was watching Dario Argento's Terror at the Opera. It was on Cinemax. And I was like, Dario Argento, and I had never seen this movie, and it came on, and, I don't know, if you're not familiar with Dario Argento, you should be, if you're a horror fan, but, I mean, his imagery, is so, like, over the top, grotesque, like, beautiful and profane, and I had all these images going past me in this sort of, trippy state that I was in, and it was a weird experience. I don't really know how to, but it was like being awake in a dream for me. It was really a weird thing, and it's all these like images and thoughts, but in those days I always used to write stuff in a notebook. I still kind of do. And I wrote like a lot of stuff in a notebook, just like phrases and stuff like that. So when it came time to put the lyrics to the song, I had all these phrases and things and images, and I put them into the song, and that song became Catalepsy. So dig, if you will, Catalepsy off COCK.
Want to know my head and my
Hi, this is Dave, and we're back going over all the truth that you wanted to know about some of your least favorite white trash songs. Anyway, we went over the first two albums, and now I'm going to talk about something that came out with the second album. There was an EP that came out. It was really like a single for the song Minor Happiness and Pig, both of which got some airplay. But we had some extra songs, and we threw them on there. And the one I want to talk about is actually not a song that we wrote. It's something called Dog Pound Hop. And Dog Pound Hop is the theme song for the cartoon Ren and Stimpy. Now, back then, Ren and Stimpy came out, I think, during when the first album was out for us. And our trumpet player, Brendan, turned us on to Ren and Stimpy. And, you know, Ren and Stimpy is amazing because John Cristofalusi, who created it, I mean, he basically was like hand painting this thing, you know, frame by frame with amazing detail and just such a weird sense of humor. It's really, you know, the first, I don't know if it's 2 seasons or whatever it is. I mean, there's not that many of them, but they're just amazing. I mean, they really are works of art. And it blew up. It became a huge thing. And kids liked it, you know, stoners liked it. It was all over the place. And I guess because it was so successful, I don't know if it was MTV or Nickelodeon, whoever, I mean, they're basically the same company. You know, they ordered more episodes, and he really couldn't produce them as fast as they wanted them, I guess. And he really, you know, maintained that he was going to maintain the quality of what he was making, and it was going very slow. And I, you know, from what I know, I'm not like a historian on Ren and Stimpy, but I know there was a lot of grief and battling back and forth and anger and you know, they wound up taking the show from him because in their contract, I guess they owned it. And you know, the one thing he had that would have screwed them was that he did the voice of Ren, and Billy West, who did the voice of Stimpy, kind of sold him out. And you know, Billy West is a brilliant, you know, voice artist, and he was able to do a pretty good version of Ren, but he really sold him out. And the thing, you know, that I wanted to talk about with this is that I grew up in an era where directors and musicians, you know, and writers really had a lot of creative control over what they did. And we have amazing we have amazing works of art that we all take for granted. I mean, whether you're talking about, I mean, a good example is, you know, the guy who made The Deer Hunter, which was Michael Cimino. Deer Hunter is one of the best American films ever made. And then he made Heaven's Gate after that. And that film still, you know, it's like a joke. People talk about, like, oh, Heaven's Gate. It was this, you know, $40 million box office disaster. But, you know, speaking as someone who saw the film, it's definitely not a disaster. It's not the best film ever made. But it is a good film. And there's a lot of great things in it. But, you know, a smear campaign was pretty much launched to destroy him. And it wasn't just to destroy him. It happened in a lot of ways. You know, the studios basically wanted control. They were tired of dealing with the artists. And they fought to get control back, you know, and they started attacking the artists. You know, Roger Ebert was constantly attacking David Lynch for some reason, who is a genius, you know. You know, after Purple Rain, you know, like Prince was like, oh, you know, self-indulgent, you know. And a lot of artists, a guy like, you know, say Terence Trent D'Arby or somebody, you know, a lot of artists got ruined in this, like Michael Cimino. And in a way, I think John Cristofalusi was a victim of what was going on. He was an artist that found success, and for his wonderful work, he was destroyed by Nickelodeon or whatever, and they stole the show, and then they made a bunch of other episodes which are nowhere near as good, and it's a shame. So I'm proud that we got to record Dog Pound Hop. I'm not on the track at all. I didn't write it, but it's a great performance, and it's a rare track. So take a listen and think of John Cristofalusi while you do. Here is Dog Pound Hop. Okay, hey, this is Dave from White Trash, and I'm on the Jay Stone Show talking to you about a lot of songs from the White Trash catalog. So White Trash made 2 albums, and then we disbanded. That was like 1995 when we disbanded, and I went off on a spiritual quest, if you will, which led me to emergency rooms, my mom's house, California, started making experimental films. Then I made my way back to New York. I was in Florida in there at one point. There was just a lot of aimlessness, but I had left music behind, and but a couple of times, I got the itch and wanted to record. And one of these times I got together with Mike Calderella, who was the original White Trash drummer, and he had a studio, because when the first version of White Trash broke up, Aaron and Mike, Aaron Collins, the bass player, Mike Calderella, the drummer, went off and played with this guy named Seth Abelson in this band called Hash, and they recorded an album with Elektra. Then Aaron left Hash, and Hash became Spirit Gum. And Eric Broden, who was the replacement for Aaron in White Trash, became Aaron's replacement in Spirit Gum. A little history on that is that Eric had originally played with Seth, so there was this weird incestuous thing where we kept kind of shifting band members back and forth from these different projects. And when they recorded their album, they decided to just buy studio equipment and go up to like a cabin somewhere upstate New York and just record without studio interference. And so they broke up, and then they kind of split up the equipment. So Mike had like half a recording studio in his basement. And I had talked to him, and I asked, would you be down to do some recording? And he wanted to do some recording. So we went in there, and we did really great stuff. I thought it was a really good experience, and I got to play guitar, which I love to do, and at the time I was serious about playing guitar, and so we put this this little mini album together, and I never did anything with it because I was just like so aimless and ran away. Fast forward to like 2007, and White Trash got back together, and after playing a couple of shows, we decided to put out another album, which wound up being called 3D Monkeys in Space. And when we were putting the songs together, I mentioned that, hey, I have this song that I did with Mike, and it's called The Fifth. And it was like a heavy song, and the two things I really liked about it is, one, I had played around with some sampling, like some real lo-fi sampling, and the sampling that I was doing was from my favorite movie of all time, which is Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, starring my favorite actor, Warren Oates. As a matter of fact, my publishing company was called War-N-Oates. So obviously I was a big fan of Warren Oates. So I sampled a lot of sounds and dialogue from the movie, and this was a song about like street justice and not being a snitch, and lots of gunfire and screaming and detuned guitars and analog synths. So, this was, taking some like 9 Inch Nails stuff and incorporating it into White Trash. So, take a listen. This song's called The Fifth.
I'll kill you right there. Get goddamn move when I say move, you motherfucker. Goddamn fucking eyes.
Some say blood feels a bad motherfucker. Just one punch and you make him cry. I say blood is a little bit deceiving, baby. If you want justice, better watch him die. Don't say nothing. You didn't see it, baby. Take the fifth or you testify. Don't say nothing. You didn't see it, baby. Take the fifth or you testify. I've been feeling a pleasing feeling like the rat's been rattling. I don't know why. One agreement between these people, baby. One has guns and the other must die. Don't say nothing. You didn't see it, baby. Take the fifth or you testify. Don't say nothing. You didn't see it, baby. Take the fifth or you testify.
No.
See, that's one thing you gotta remember about a junkie is they're always rats.
Hey, wait a minute. The cat might not be whole, man. Wait a minute. You have a dime? I don't have a dime.
Everybody rats.
Some say blood feels a bad motherfucker. Just one punch and you make him cry. I say blood is a little bit deceiving, baby. If you want something, better watch him die. Don't say nothing. You didn't see it, baby. Take the fifth or you testify. Don't say nothing. You didn't see it, baby. Take the fifth or you testify.
God damn it. I'll kill you right there. Get goddamn move when I say move, you motherfucker. Goddamn fucking eyes.
And we're back. All right, so we're still on the 3D Monkeys in Space album. This is Dave from White Trash, digging into the archives here, coming up with some backstories on some songs in the White Trash catalog. We're on the third album right now, and we just talked about the fifth, and now we're going to talk about another song. It's called Dirty Girl. The one thing that's amazing about this song is that so many women that I have met hate this song. I mean, absolutely hate it. And there's, there's some rough language and subject matter. It's definitely an NC-17 song, I guess, or whatever. And it's about a dirty girl. And, some of the language, I guess, puts people off. But the thing that I really, thought was strange about it is that it's really about a woman who owns her sexuality. I wouldn't say this is someone who's a whore. This is someone who likes sex. This is somebody, that is having fun, is owning their sexuality. They're not being coerced or exploited into doing anything. It's about a dirty girl who takes some pride in being a dirty girl. And, men are allowed to be dirty. And, there's very little judgment that comes attached to that. I mean, well, not always, but in general, it's sort of a given that guys say things, do things, look at women a certain way, And in general, when women do the same things, people call them a slut or a whore or a prostitute, whatever. And that's never really been my opinion, So this is really about a girl who is on a sexual odyssey or whatever, like the story of O or something like that. And definitely not meant to demean women, but I know it's been interpreted that way, and I apologize for that because it's definitely not meant to be taken that way. So judge for yourself, see what all the controversy is about. Check out Dirty Girl by White Trash from the 3D Monkeys in Space album. Hit it.
Hot little girl, finest ass in the world. Some boys wine and dine her, while other ones try to ride her. Oh, what a dirty girl. One young man, he wanted to fuck her, but soon broke down and said that he loved her. Then they went and got married. Pretty soon she was tossing his salad. Oh, how this girl likes to play. Dirty girl. Dirty girl. Dirty girl. Dirty got bored and soon she was cheating. Started messing around with the men she was meeting. Soon went away to China and started peddling her vagina. Oh, how so sad and displeasing. Talking to her and she'll say that you wouldn't have it any other way. Boy, away depression by battling her repression. Oh, how this girl likes to play. Dirty girl. Dirty girl.
Okay, we're back. This is Dave from White Trash. I'm talking about music, about life, and how they intertwine here on the Jay Stone Show. Okay, we've made it our way through the first 3 albums and an EP of White Trash, and we're getting into the home stretch here. We're going to the last album we made, and that one is called Suburban Purgatory. I think that's where everybody winds up, right? Anyway, so we're going to talk about 2 songs off this album to close out the show, and the first one I'm going to talk about is an anthem, something close to my heart, something everyone in America should be singing. They don't have to be White Trash fans. They could plagiarize it and pretend it's their own thought. And the name of this song is Rich Kids Suck. And rich kids really suck. And let me get into this, because this is something I'm passionate about. And when I'm talking about rich kids, I'm not talking about, the kid, maybe a spoiled kid, whatever. I'm not talking about James Spader in Pretty in Pink, because quite honestly, I thought that whole movie should have been about James Spader. Ducky got a little annoying. So, some rich kid types, some spoiled brats can be interesting. I'm not anti-money. It's not anything like that. What I'm talking about is that we have a lot of these rich kids out there, and whether we're talking about Kardashians, Trumps, Dweezil Zappa, Woody Johnson, the guy who inherited Johnson & Johnson and bought the Jets. These are just a lot of fucking pains in the ass to society. I mean, just people that are annoying, Not talking about politics. I'm not talking about money. I'm not preaching communism. Nothing like that. What I'm just saying is there's a lot of people that just inherit things and don't earn things. And what you're getting from them is people like, who basically inherit a company, and then you're getting a worse and worse product, because they're not great business people. Their parents were. Their parents earned whatever they had, and then they loved their kids, which is understandable, and they gave them everything. And you just have this wealth being passed down, and you get these weasels with no talent, no charm, no nothing, I mean, anybody who thinks Kim Kardashian is good looking, I mean, you're blind. You're mentally ill. There's more, silicone and plastic surgery and hair weaves going on that beast. It's disgusting, I mean, a pig. And, like I said, guys like Woody Johnson who owns the Jets, I mean, just a total dweeb walking around with a Jets cap. Like, that somehow makes him part of the team with his green tie. Loser. Total loser. I'm not a Jets fan. I'm a Giants fan. Thank God. So, this is a song that I just feel it's time. There's enough gentrification, There's enough of this entitlement. These spoiled brats, just ruining everything. And they don't get it, honestly. They are a plague. They really don't get what a problem they are. I think they should step out of the way and let us all compete in the marketplace instead of having this, bully, selfish pig mentality ruining it for everybody else. And I'll even extend that to, you got children of actors who somehow just because Scott Conn came out of James Caan's dick all of a sudden, he's kind of gone already, but I'm just saying, I think over and over again we've proved that we don't need a bunch of spoiled rich kids getting in our way. We're all, there's plenty of talent out there, there are plenty of ideas, we don't need the rich kids. Let's get the rich kids out of the way. So anyway, this song is called, and it's heartfelt, it's called Rich Kids Suck.
dollars to pay for their meals. Well, all that I do is beg, borrow, and steal. $6 million just sits in their bank, and I got no gas in my tank. Rich kids suck. Rich kids suck. Rich kids suck. Rich kids suck. They talk down to you 'cause you work for their dad. They're ugly, but somehow they never look bad. No one needs rich kids and no one needs brats. They're all just filthy rats. Rich kids suck. Rich kids suck. What do they feel? What do they know? They ain't worth much at all. Please make them go. Fur coats and sports cars line their garage, while artists and models fill their entourage. Rich kids suck. Rich kids suck. Rich kids suck. Rich kids suck.
And in the end, the rich kids were defeated. Badly beaten, they withdrew from society, and their wealth was redistributed to the bums and hobos of Skid Row and the Bowery. This was a happy ending indeed.
Hey, this is Dave from White Trash, and you are listening to The Jay Stone Show. We're back. We're talking about White Trash songs. This is sort of a Jay Stone's version of Storytellers here that we're doing. We've made our way through 3.5 albums and an EP, and now this is the last song I'm gonna do for you. It's on our last album, Suburban Purgatory. And it probably is our last album because, unfortunately, for those of you who don't know, Ethan Collins, one of the founding members, passed away last year. And, I don't think we're going to be continuing on, but the music is there, and I certainly hope people continue to listen and hear what a great guitar player Ethan was. He didn't play on this last album. There were two guitar players that rotated in and out of White Trash, and that's Ethan Collins and Craig LeBlanc. And Ethan and Craig were roommates at one point. Craig was Ethan's roadie at one point. We all grew up in a town called Fresh Meadows in Queens. We all lived across the street from each other. The way this band was put together, it was all guys from our neighborhood that played baseball together. When we were younger, we played TV tag and freeze tag and, whatever. So we were all like a family of people. And the band is a family. And we really don't stray outside of the family. So, at this point in time, White Trash has ceased doing business. To be continued, who knows. But Anyway, so this last album, we have a song on it called Peepin'. And Peepin' is about, for those of you who know New York, Times Square used to be something entirely different than what it is right now. If you've seen Taxi Driver, that's what 42nd Street used to be. It was, a cesspool, but it was a wonderful cesspool. There were movie theaters lined up and down the blocks, and you had everything from zombie movies to kung fu movies. You obviously had pornography. There was drug dealers. There were prostitutes. It was a crazy scene. And when, we were kids, you'd get on the train, take the 7 train from Queens into Times Square, and man, it was all available to you, whatever it was you were looking for. And bad things could happen. They sometimes did. But also a lot of great, crazy things happened, And Peepin' is about a guy whose girlfriend leaves him, way back when Times Square was still happening. And he goes into the city, and he goes to all the various peep shows and strip clubs and bars, and oh boy, what a time he has. The thing I like this song a lot for a lot of reasons, but it's really, for me, like an ode to the old New York. And New York is always going to be a great place. It's always going to be. It's unlike anything else. So I'm not in any way trying to say it sucks now or anything. But so much of what was cool about New York is gone. And, obviously other things, take the place of the things I loved. And I'm sure people will talk this way, 20 years from now about things they love about it. But, everything, from the little shops like Trash and Vaudeville, St. Mark's Place was such a great area, that's more the Village. And there was a great bar there called Holiday that was there for years that I used to go hang out in. I already talked about 42nd Street, like how that was such like a grindhouse empire. The dirt. You used to be able to just walk around drinking a beer, smoking a joint in the streets. If you saw a cop, they'd be like, hey, put that out. It wasn't the law and order state. It wasn't so elitist, as it is now. I mean, really nobody can afford to live in Manhattan. You're either making a ton of money or you're living with 6 people and you're working around the clock. The New York experience is obviously a great thing, and I never want to stray too far away from New York personally. But a lot of the things that were there are not, that I loved, are not there anymore. And consequently, I don't go out as much. So this is my ode to New York, and it's a song that we call Peepin'.
Hey, man, what are you doing today?
I don't know, man. I think I'm just gonna stay home.
Aw, come on, man. Let's go out. Let's go down to 42nd Street. Let's go peeping.
Yeah, man. I'm just gonna have some beer.
Peeping!
Drinking.
Peeping! Peeping!
Drinking.
Peeping! Peeping!
Drinking.
Peeping! Peeping!
Drinking.
Peeping! Whoa,
it down all night and then I woke up in the slums. Now I don't wanna be so drunk and so crazy, yeah, but now I'm feeling lonely and I'm so thirsty, yeah. I got nobody, want somebody, need me some beer, 'cause my heart was sinking. That's why I went out drinking.
Beepin', drinking. Beepin', drinking. Beepin', drinking. Beepin', drinking.
So if you have a woman and she's giving you grief, just thank your lucky stars and just know what she means. 'Cause everybody argue, just kiss and make up, yeah. Enjoy when she's around and all the things that she does, yeah. Now you don't wanna be so dirty, MCC, yeah. I'm feeling so alone, feeling so thirsty, yeah. I got nobody, want somebody, need a release. If your girlfriend leaves you, that's why we go out beeping.
'Cause my baby left me. Because nobody cares. Because my baby left me. Oh man. Let's get out of here.
Okay, so that about wraps it up on my end. You have been listening to the Jay Stone Show, and the man chewing your ear off here has been Dave Alvin, lead singer, provocateur of White Trash. It's been a real pleasure to come on. I want to thank Jay. It was really fun to walk down memory lane and sort of explain myself. I'm not such a bad guy. These songs aren't so terrible. They're not so filthy. It was a lot of fun doing this. Certainly, anybody wants to reach out, you can find us on Facebook. And it's Facebook White Trash the Band. I think it's the address is, facebook.com/White Trash Universe. Definitely, if you're listening and you wanted to say hi, check on in. And make sure you keep listening to the Jay Stone Show. Jay's an independent. He's doing it his way. He's doing it the right way. He's getting good music out there. And he's a really good guy. Consider him a friend. And you definitely need to keep listening to the Jay Stone Show. So thank you for listening to me babble on. I'm going to go back to the nursing home that I live in now and drink some delicious beer. Thank you, and good night.